Well, Aunt Lydia is wistfully looking outside as she's treadmilling at all of this handmade stuff going on that she's not participating in. And we come to find out that the reason that she's not participating is because she's recuperating from all of her injuries and trauma that she's had, but also because they're just putting her out to pasture now. And we know that because Aunt Ruth comes rolling up and breaks that news to her. And Aunt Lydia is not accepting of this.
Mm-hmm.
She, as far as she's concerned, her work is not done. And she doesn't want to be put out to pasture. She doesn't want to be playing cards and doing puzzles all day with the older aunts. She wants to be out there breaking balls.
Mm-hmm. I loved watching this balance between Aunt Lydia and Aunt Ruth, because Ruth is a formidable human. I say this as someone who is 6'1", larger than most. I was scared of Ruth. Ruth had such a physically foreboding presence that made her very intimidating. And we very rarely see Aunt Lydia look small. Yeah. And in this shot, she looked so diminutive. Mm-hmm. I loved watching that. I loved watching her try to claw her way back into a position of power against effectively a mountain of a woman.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love that as she's facing that mountain, I feel like she was testing Ruth when she asked her to go speak to the commanders. Did you read it the same way?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that she failed that test, and Lydia officially has a new enemy for life, because we know from the testaments that Lydia really holds a grudge. And I feel like that was her one opportunity to see. She was trying to see if Ruth was going to show her where her allegiance lies. And she did. And unfortunately, that was not with Lydia, because I think she underestimated this retired aunt at this point.
Yeah,
absolutely. And Ruth makes no bones about that either. Like, the girls are not your concern anymore. Which, what a dismissive thing to say to someone who is effectively the matriarch of Gilead. Regardless of how you feel about Gilead, like, seeing it from the outside, if you are part of the machine, show a little bit of respect. And Lydia's retort of just, the girls have always been my concern. I have served Gilead with everything I have. Present, like, it's, that sentence to me is very interesting, because I have served Gilead with everything I have is both past tense and present tense. It's like, a tense is weird on that. Yeah. And then Ruth sort of corrects her, because Ruth says to Lydia, I admired your devotion, with a D. So it was very much past tense, while you were still active. Just doubling down on the fact that Lydia no longer has say here. She no longer has pull. There's a new sheriff in town. And I found that extremely compelling, that anyone would speak to Aunt Lydia in that fashion. And it sort of gives us, like, because this is our first view inside Ardua Hall, for us as the viewer, Lydia has always been this omnipotent, omniscient force. But if another aunt is willing to speak to her so flagrantly in front of other aunts, perhaps Aunt Lydia hasn't had the position of power that she's always portrayed to the viewer and to us in the Testaments, which then makes her an unreliable narrator in a lot of sense as well.
Yeah.
I can see that being possible. I thought it was more of Ruth taking the opportunity to strike when the seat is open. Because I know she talks a lot about in the Testaments about how she has to always be on guard for anyone trying to undermine her, because there are plenty of aunts who would love to see her unseated, essentially what she says. Yeah. And I feel like that's what this was. It's not that Lydia wasn't at the top at one point, as much as she has definitely fallen from grace far, and this is Ruth's opportunity to step in and let her know.
Gotcha. I like that perspective. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's what's happening too. I mean, this whole thing is a blow to her ego for sure. And Aunt Lydia, she has to be viewed as a qualified fuck up after this. Yeah. With everything that's happened, losing June, again.
Yeah.
What happened to all the other 4 handmaids? All of this has been happening under Aunt Lydia's watch since season 3.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I would say it goes back even further to season 2 when Emily kicks the shit out of her. I'm sure that while, Aunt Lydia, of course, was impaired by that and it was terrible that it happened to her. I'm sure they think it's horrible. I'm also sure that Gilead was like, that is like one of the first strikes of you having your guard down.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what's going on? I mean, you just had this woman almost kill you.
Yeah.
So I just don't think.
Yeah.
And then there's the whole, situation with her beating the crap out of Janine in front of all the commanders at the Putnam's house. Like, she just has not been presenting herself very favorably in such a long time. So I feel like this, all of the things that have happened, she's as up Schitt's Creek in the eyes of Gilead as much as Larry is.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you were great once, but it's time to go, Liz.
Yeah, newer and younger is moving in, and they have ambitions. And the first thing that needs to happen is the top needs to go, and that's as soon as there's an opportunity, someone else is going to step in.
Yeah,
I think that with Ruth, it would have been why I think that Lydia was testing her by asking her to go speak on her behalf, is that it would have been so easy to say yes and then not follow through. Like, because I'm pretty sure Lydia does that in the Testaments multiple times. Like, she tells people she's going to go to bat for them, and then she just plays the, well, they're commanders, you can only do so much cards to be like, see, I was on your side, I did as much as I could possibly do, but I can only do so much. And I feel like that's almost what she was waiting to see, if Ruth would give her that placation and at least be smart about it. And since she didn't, it was more of an ultimate power move and an opportunity to make a dig at Lydia in the process, that I think that Lydia knew exactly, at this point knows exactly who she's dealing with, and that makes me think that Ruth needs to watch out. That Godspeed at the end was very ominous.
And repeating it twice as well.
So here's the thing. She has an opportunity to stay out of it and retire. And I have not seen anything from either this or the Testaments that leads me to believe that an aunt retiring is anything horrible. It really sounds like they can just go live out their, days until that's it. And so I was just wondering, like, wouldn't it be safer for her just being put out to pasture and staying out of the ickiness of the work that she was doing before? Like, does she see herself as a buffer between these women and Gilead, and that's why she's doing it? Like, what is it? Is it just she can't give up that power?
I think it's the notoriety. I think she wants the resume, the legacy. She doesn't want to just go off into retirement, never to be heard from again. She wants people to know her name. And I think she likes to hide behind the guise of, these are my girls and I need someone to protect them. But the way I'm seeing Lydia in the Testaments now is more of the fact that that is more of the excuse to her behavior, when really her behavior is she just wants to create a name for herself and have that power and that control and that legacy.
I like that thought too, considering like with the Testaments, the very first scene that we have is this monument being this monument to her, and she's just like, I'm not really keen on how it looks. I mean, this is how I'm going to be memorialized. It's full of bravado and it's full of conceit.
Yeah,
which is,
and then she goes in. Sorry,
no, go ahead.
She launches into, so this is why I need to tell you my story and my words, because otherwise you're going to hear crazy things about me and it couldn't possibly be true. This is what I was really doing. It's like a after the fact, let me explain. And she did it in such a way that it's almost like no matter which way the cards fall, she had herself positioned to look good regardless. Like, she gave herself notoriety and legacy within Gilead, and then also when it toppled wanted to be the one that takes the credit for why it went down.